Hello, everyone. SandDAO podcast number 46. Today, we are joined by another of one of the 12 delegates that was just announced not 3-4 days ago. You know him as Crypto Joe. You might know him as Moefat, Cryptomentary. There are many different names that he goes by. And if you're looking on the dashboard, you're looking for Moefat, Moefat, and he has looks like a voxel kid with a pink background and a blue sweater. So welcome, Crypto Joe. 안녕하세요.
안녕하세요. Thank you, Lanzer. It's a CryptoMoe, M-O-E. Sorry.
CryptoMoe. Oops, I put Joe
Yeah,
and I
yeah, yeah.
was thinking of
It's
not
fine. It's
even
fine.
CryptoMoe. Excuse me.
It's fine. It's fine.
Crypto Joe. I don't even know where that came. All right.
it,
So
it has a nice ring to it, Crypto Joe.
CryptoMoe or Cryptomentary or Moefat. So as I said, the scope of the talk today is a meet and greet with CryptoMoe. We'll be learning about him as one of the 12 delegates that was just announced. And what does CryptoMoe believe when it comes to voting, and how does CryptoMoe want to approach delegation? Disclaimer. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
The disclaimer is that we do not represent the Sandbox Game or the Sandbox DAO Foundation. We're not your financial or legal advisors. Nothing we say is to be taken as financial or legal advice. When we say the word SIP, we mean Sandbox Improvement Proposal. When we say the word DAO, we mean Decentralized Autonomous Organization. And when we say the word SandFam, we're talking about the Sandbox community, those who participate in the people, product, purpose of the Sandbox ecosystem. And as I covered in episode 31, the people, everything from the gamers to the Sandbox team, the product is everything from the game client to the market to the DAO, Voxet Game Maker, and the purpose would be the things in the white paper to include the many vision statements from Sebastian Bourget or Arthur Madrid or Yatsu. All of that comes together into this giant thing we call the ecosystem. And today we're focusing on one such element of the people sector, which are DAO delegates. And Scoreboard has not moved. So the SIPs, the DAO admin team said they will return to SIPs next week. And we're still at 2.3 million sand spent of our 15.5 million sand budget. This all started May 28th, that Medium article that launched the DAO. And then September 10th, the Sandbox DAO opened up the delegation applications. And November 13th is when the 12 of the DAO delegates were announced, of which today we have Crypto Joe. CryptoMoe. I don't really know where Joe's coming from right now, but CryptoMoe, otherwise
Mojo.
known as Moefat. Welcome, and could you
Thank you.
please give us a little bit about your background?
Yeah, my background. I was born in Korea, Busan, Korea, and actually I was just telling Lancer I grew up in the Philippines. So to my Filipino friends, mabuhay. And I came back to Korea as an adult and have been living in Korea since. And yeah, so I'm this mixture of Korean, Filipino, and I was educated in an American international school. So yeah, I'm very, very, very comfortable with the English language. So that's kind of my cultural upbringing. I actually studied business and admin, and for my bachelor's, I studied theology for my master's.
Ooh, that's cool.
And yeah, and then I got into crypto. Hence, I started my YouTube. First, I started out with some crypto stuff, like fundamental analysis. I'm really into analytics, not necessarily charts, but the analytics, the foundational aspects of tokenomics and just crypto as a whole as an industry. So I really got into crypto in 2021, early 2021, and then naturally my interest leaned towards NFTs, and then the Sandbox before that major meta hype, in 2021 November, right? So just before that, I'd gotten into the sandbox, and I wanted to buy lands, but there was no information on YouTube or wherever um, how to buy specifically for the Korean um, retail investor to buy lands, right? So my friends started asking me who are into crypto, how do I buy land? So I got the information because I was doing some research here and there in English. So I decided to post up a video on how to buy the sandbox land in Korean, and that's where all the Korean crypto investors at the time were quite early. Most of the sandbox landowners in the early stage, they entered the sandbox through my videos of how to buy land, the sandbox land. So that's how I got my feet wet within the sandbox community. And then after that, I networked with some creators. We started a builder studio. We're called Gurum Studio. We're one of the official builder studios in the sandbox. And I don't create as many videos as before because I'm more involved into the content building aspect and the business side of the sandbox. But I'm still very active with communicating with the Korean SandFam, right? Because a lot of the information that gets released first in English, and I try to communicate as much
Got
as I
it.
can in Korean, and just try to get conversations going and add into the community, which naturally led me to someone in the Sandbox Korea staff actually nominated me to become a South Korean delegate for the DAO, Sandbox DAO, and I said yes and did the interview, and here I am
You
in a
just answered
nutshell.
like 3 questions. I don't know if you realize that, all at the
Oh,
same
sorry,
time.
sorry.
No, no, it's
I'm so
okay. It's
sorry.
okay.
Yeah.
So someone in the Sandbox Korean branch staff nominated you to be a
Yes.
delegate, and you went through the
Yes.
process.
Yes.
Okay. Got it.
Exactly. Exactly. He just told me to why don't you apply? It'd be good to have someone represent the Korean community who's also able to communicate in English,
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
yeah, yeah. So I think that was the reason why he nominated
Yeah.
me.
And then you have a background in breaking down tough concepts and exploring how to do things to help other people. Like as you were speaking, I searched some of your land videos. I don't speak Korean. However,
Yeah,
I can tell that these are land videos for sure. And it looks like
yeah,
you're
yeah,
explaining the process for how to click on it, how to buy. And I
yeah,
see one of them
yeah,
is the raffle. So,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Because this was all before there was the Sandbox Korea branch.
got it. Okay.
So
Okay.
there were no translations or anything like that, and there was information all over the place, like how to create a wallet, how to transfer sand, how to stake. So I was kind of that go-to guy within the Korean community. um
Got it.
yeah,
Yeah. That,
i
that
do i
that's
do less of
cool.
that now because the Sandbox Korea does most of that now.
Gotcha. Yeah, we all there's a chapter and then you close that chapter, another one opens and
Yep.
now you're a delegate.
Yes. So I'm thinking maybe I could do what I've done with the land videos with the DAO.
Yeah,
Because I feel like the Korean community, they don't know much about what's happening in the DAO. A lot of the conversations are in English, which it's not bad, but at the same time, there is definitely a cultural gap, language barrier with the Korean community. So hopefully, I'll try to mend that gap just a little bit.
yeah, I can definitely see how I pulled up your video. It looks like you're going over the Medium article, and then
Okay,
now you're explaining the website, and
for
then
the DAO. Yeah,
for the
yeah, yeah,
DAO,
yeah,
and then I see you opened up Magic Palette. So even though I
yeah,
don't fully understand all the words I'm seeing, I can definitely tell that you are trying to explain and educate, and so you're already doing it. It's just a matter
yeah,
of now you can do it in a delegate capacity
yeah.
while shepherding the. You know what? That's a question. I'm gonna keep going. Awesome. Thank you for giving me your background.
Yep. Sorry, that was
Okay.
a long answer.
No, no, that's great. That's we are here to learn about you, Crypto Mo with an M.
So
Okay.
Cryptomentary is my YouTube channel. It's like documenting my crypto journey.
Yeah. No,
Cryptomentary,
I get it. I totally get it. I
Yeah,
love that name. It's a
and
good
then the
name.
YouTuber in the channel is CryptoMoe. Yeah.
Yeah. CryptoMo. And what year would you say you became SandFam? It says in your description since 2021 you've been a YouTuber, but when did you join SandFam?
Yeah, so I started looking into sand tokens in 2020. So
Wow.
quite early. Yeah,
Okay.
so man, I rode
Another
that.
SandFam grandpa.
Yeah, I'm a Korean OG, and
Mm-hmm.
man, I rode the wave from like I don't even know what was it like was it like 10 cents or less? Um all the way till $8, $9, right? $8 and then all the way back down now. But I first got into the sandbox because of its token,
Mm-hmm.
definitely because of the crypto aspect of it. And then I started looking into the economy, the metaverse, and of all the NFT projects out there, I just picked one, and it was like this is gonna be the one, right? The one that's gonna actually last and have a sustainable model, right? There were so many projects going on at that time, but and I think I've made the right choice. Of course, the price action is a different story. Those has many components that are uncontrollable, but in
Mm-hmm.
terms of the sustainability, in terms of just a metaverse ecosystem, I do think I saw something within the sandbox that differentiated itself from the rest of the project. So I would say 2020, end of 2020.
And did you become a landowner straight away?
I became a landowner in 2021, early 2021. I
Okay.
first bought sound tokens on as an investment.
Okay, got it. I got it. Got it.
Yeah,
And
in
so
2000, that
when
would be 2020. I started buying land sand tokens in 2020, probably end of 2020, and then 2021. I think March was when I bought my first land.
and you've been a YouTuber since about the same time, March?
I think I'm not sure if it's March. I think it's 2020, definitely first half of 2021.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I need to go back to my videos, but I think it was around that time,
That's
March or
okay.
April of
Your
2021.
description says since 2021. That's
Okay.
we're close. We got there. And would you say that what was your motivation for accepting the nomination?
The DAO delegate nomination,
Yes.
right?
Hmm.
Well, I thought um I don't want to I don't want to brag, but I thought I was um a good fit to once again represent the Korean community. I think because of my linguistic abilities in terms of being fluent, being bilingual
Hmm.
with Korean and English, and
Even
also
trilingual.
having, yes, even trilingual, but and also just being around for a while in the sandbox, I think there was something that I could contribute to, um, specifically for the Korean SanFam, but also for the entire SandFam community as well, because I can relay the voices of the Korean community to the entire SandFam community as well, right? So vice versa. And I do think the Korean community have a lot to add, especially I think some of the creations by the Korean community is really great, really great artists. Many of them always win, not always, but many of them are always in the top 10 for the game jams. And
Wow.
so I do feel the Korean community has a lot to offer. As I know, I think Korea, I need to fact check this, but I think Korea is uh has the second highest landowners um in all of the sandbox ecosystem. I'm not I need to fact check this, but if I remember correctly, it was once the second highest. um so I do believe the Korean community has a lot to add, and if the Korean investors do have the second highest most lands, then that means they have a lot of voting power as well,
Yeah,
right?
they
And
sure
and
do.
if a lot of that voting power is gone to waste because they're just not um they're just not catching what's happening in the DAO, then I just thought that's kind of like a missed opportunity there.
Absolutely. What would you say, the side question, what would you say are some of the concerns or things that the Korean community really values?
Profit.
Profit, okay. So similar
I think
to
that's true
the
for
Chinese delegation, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
definitely. I think most of the Korean investors, I mean, I don't speak for all of them, but just
Sure,
this is just
sure.
from my
But
perception.
your
Many,
observations.
yeah, many are, of course, interested in getting a profit from their land investments. Many are wanting, a good ROI on their sand token investments as well. And because of the recent um, kind of, the metaverse bubble popping, I think a lot of the investors are a little bit dismayed because
Uh,
if you've entered at $5, $6, then for sand tokens, and when it was like $10,000 or 2 or 3 Ethereum for floor price for the lands, then you still got a lot of time left to kind of
mhm.
recover.
A lot of ground to
Um,
cover. Yeah.
exactly. So I think that is the main concern. I would say most of the investors are in it to make a profit. But then there is, I think, a minority who are actually in it for the community and for the creation and the gameplay aspect of it. So I guess there's kind of like a two categories there. One is for investment purposes, which is, I would say, the majority. And then there's like the people who are actually in it for the community, for the gaming,
Yeah.
um, for the potential of the metaverse.
That's very similar to the way Old One described the Chinese community. I think
Mm,
he said there was a
mm,
third category, but there was your landowners, and many were very interested in the profit motive. But then there were
mm,
also like the builders, and then there was the third
mm,
category escaping me, but they were very specialized, and it didn't really
mm.
overlap too much. So I
Yeah.
found that was fascinating to listen about. And so in the Korean community, you kind of have your investors, whatever that
Mm,
may be, and
yeah.
then the minority you'd say would be those in it for the community, the creation, and the gameplay.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, okay, that's fascinating.
There's
I,
actually two official group chats in the Sandbox
mhm,
community in Korea. One is for the investors and one is for the gamers. So, and
very good.
you're not allowed to talk about the price action in the game
Okay,
community.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. Yeah, don't be talking about how many cents the sandbox is while I'm trying to complete the latest daily
yeah.
challenge.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Very good.
Well, I guess there's a gamers as well. Maybe that's the third category. Gamers, builders, and investors.
Okay, got it. Yeah,
Yeah.
then that's very similar to what Old One described as well. So are there 3 group chats or there's still 2?
There's still two, just the gaming and
Yeah.
the investors. Yeah.
Alright, so the next thing I had up was, so we're before we're talking about the Korean community, we were speaking about your motivation for accepting the nomination. And you thought, you were saying how you thought you were a good fit to represent the Korean community. The next portion is when it comes to snapshot voting. And
Yeah.
I couldn't find anything in your snapshot profile. Have you voted
Yeah.
in a DAO before?
I have voted in a DAO before, not with not with my current profile though, because I, the wallet that I use right now is Venly. It's not a MetaMask wallet.
Got it.
So
Got it.
the I have voted with another wallet that has my other assets in it,
Hmm.
but I've decided to use my Venly account because this is the account that I've used from the beginning,
Got it.
since 2021. And yeah, so I have not voted with this particular wallet, but I have voted for the DAO, the SIPs before,
Okay.
in the
And
Sandbox DAO.
just the Sandbox DAO, or have you voted elsewhere?
No, I have not voted in other DAO communities
Okay.
before.
And have you
Yeah.
voted on all 15 SIPs?
No, I have not voted in all 15 SIPs. I think I voted 3 or 4 times in my
Okay.
other MetaMask wallet. Yeah. I voted for the palette. I voted for, I think, the Philippines Academy
Yeah.
one.
With
Yeah,
Mark?
yeah.
I'm going to be
Yeah, that
doing
would have
a
been,
update podcast with him pretty soon after he does his first batch that he's just. I'm looking so forward to that.
yeah, that was a very it sounded like a very interesting idea. And what was some other ones that I've done? I think I've done I voted yes for most of them usually.
Hmm.
If I'm gonna vote, I'm usually gonna vote yes. I'm usually not, I'm too lazy to get out of my way to vote no. Usually if I'm gonna vote, it's gonna be yes. But I mean, now as a DAO delegate, I should look at each SIP and hand in my vote for all the SIPs, because I feel like that's going to be. I mean, if 2 million VP is going to be delegated, right, then it's going to be a
Yeah.
big chunk to meet the quorum. So,
Yeah, tell me about that. Do you feel like the 2 million that was gifted to you changed the way your voting perspective is?
oh, definitely, definitely, because now you feel like it's going to make a difference. Especially if you feel like if you don't vote, there's a chance that the SIP isn't going to get passed at all, just because if it doesn't
Yeah.
meet the quorum, it doesn't matter if it's 60% or 70%, right? And I think the Sandbox DAO itself should not be voting as much as possible, because um, even though they do vote in order to raise a quorum, I think for it to be fully decentralized, the community has to do the voting themselves, right? I mean, it doesn't look good if the DAO's putting in the votes just to raise the quorum. It's understandable they
Yeah.
have to do it now just because there's not enough traction. But at the same time, by giving the 2 million VP to the delegates, I think that responsibility kind of is carried over to the delegates to make sure you cast your vote in, because now it's going to make a difference, right? 2 million votes times 12 is what? 24 million votes.
Hmm.
Um, so definitely, I think the 2 million votes, it's just a heavier responsibility, I think, to the delegates, because now if they don't vote and they don't read the SIP, then in some sense there's negligence, right?
Yeah.
So,
That is an interesting perspective. I think you're the first one to name it outright as perhaps
mm,
negligence. Like the 2
mm-mm,
million is a big chunk. And by not
yeah,
voting, we risk falling back into not enough quorum. Whereas
yeah,
Sandbox Wallet, let's take a look. I've recorded in my scoreboard and checkbook that we briefly went over which ones the Sandbox Wallet voted on. Looks like they voted of the 15 SIPs, they voted 5 times.
okay,
Excuse me, two in the beginning, so 4 times total. Two in the beginning where they couldn't,
mm,
when they couldn't resubmit the SIPs that they accidentally
mm-mm,
voted for in the beginning. So those two, but then they voted for the Sandbox Ambassador and the Sandbox Academy because they're in the same
okay,
cohort and they wanted the Sandbox
okay,
Ambassador program to go through. So they voted for
okay,
those two to ensure they passed quorum. But then my SIP came right after it with the Metafatura disability SIP, and both of us
yeah.
failed to meet quorum, so we didn't make it.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. It's okay.
Yeah,
That's how things go, and we weren't
yeah,
able to rally the community. But the Sandbox wallet only voted twice since the initial SIPs of the DAO, and
okay. So I
so
think I
they've
do
been
think
staying
they're
out of it
trying to
mostly.
restrain. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good sign. I think that's healthy for the community.
I
And
agree.
definitely by giving the 2 million VP to the delegates, that should kind of um, alleviate, the need for the Sandbox DAO to having to step in every time.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. And
Mm,
I've been asking each of the delegates, like, what is your thought on that 2 million? Does it change anything? For some, it's like,
mm,
no, I'd be voting.
mm,
I'd vote the same way if I had
mm,
one VP or 10 million VP. And
mm.
some said, yeah, I feel a heavier weight on my shoulders. And
Yeah, for
and
sure.
yeah.
I'm kind of like I'm kind of like a guy who acts only when I'm pushed to the corner. So
Hmm.
when the
Well,
stakes are higher,
yeah,
and the stakes
the
are
stakes
higher,
look
definitely.
higher now, but I'd be
Yeah.
so interested to see how that plays out, especially when you start voting. Like, do you still feel the way you feel right now about it? Is there a point at which you grow desensitized to it, and you're like, we can chance it, or or like how does that evolve? Because that's important to our community. It's not just uh like we need to know, like, how does this culture emerge, that way we can, if we need to change something or just take into account the human factor. I'm very interested to see how it all works out. Went from one
Yeah.
wallet having 27 million to now 12 wallets having 24 million.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I think most of the delegates are going to be definitely more active now. I mean, not just the 2 million VP, but having your name or your
Yeah.
username, your nickname, whatever, up as a future delegate in itself, I think it kind of adds that pressure. Not like good pressure though,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
kind of like an electoral college system,
That's right.
you know, like
We
what would happen if an electoral college didn't cast their vote, right?
Mhm.
um, so you have a responsibility to vote for the 2 million VP worth that has been given to you, but also kind of you've been given an official title to rally the community, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to before, it's kind of like, hey, let's do this, and then you're not sure if it's gonna catch on because, like, who made you, you know, the person to be pushing these initiatives, but with a title of an official future delegate, now you kind of have that authority, or
Yeah.
especially in the especially I don't know how it is in other countries, but especially within East Asian culture, title having a title is very important. So I think that will also help with not just having the delegate vote, but also having the rest of the community follow that delegate's initiative as well. Does that make sense?
Yep. No, that
Um,
makes sense.
yeah,
Having that authority really, it not only just it's motivating, but also it almost sounds like you're saying it acts like a source of gravity. Start pulling
yeah,
in like participation and
yeah,
cohesion, and that's cool. And I'd say in the Western world it's a little bit different. Sometimes we view
mm,
authority with suspicion, especially in the Web
mm,
3 universe. It kind of draws
yeah,
people who are a bit more skeptical about authority. But I'd say
mm,
generally, at least in the DAO, it feels like on the Western side that this is something that we've been wanting for a while. Even if we couldn't put our finger on it 5 months ago to say the DAO. We didn't even know what the DAO was. I didn't even know what a DAO was 5 months ago.
yeah,
I had no idea.
yeah.
I had to Google search what is a DAO when it came out in May.
Oh wow, okay, okay.
I really had no idea. So I've been learning ever since. And part of this
That's
podcast
awesome.
has been like a journal, like a kind of like an
Mm-mm,
exploration of what is this thing that we're up to. And and just watching how it's kind of evolved now into delegates, and how you now have 2 million voting power. I think it's really cool. I think it's a great
yeah,
opportunity.
that's awesome. That's
And
awesome.
you're
I don't know if the VPs have been uh given already, but I'll have to check.
I've been asking each delegate if they've received it yet, and so far none of them have.
Okay, so I guess they're going through the
I'm gonna
process.
assume you haven't either by judging
I
what you
don't think I
said.
have.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it. So let's delve into your delegate description. How you mentioned in the beginning that you're dedicated to empowering the decentralized community to shape its own future. Can you expand on that? How do you want to empower the community?
What I think it's kind of an extension of what I mentioned before. Like I would rather the DAO not intervene within the voting process, right? So by having delegates to to have them rally the community to have higher voting, um, higher voting in general, then I think that empowers the community to pave their own future. Um, the less votes, the less interaction, the less power the community has to shape its own future, right? Because then someone has to fill that void of power. Someone
Mm,
has to fill that void of making decisions. And I'm sure the Sandbox DAO council members or their purpose is not to not I'm sure that it's not like they want to have a big influence in the direction of the DAO, then there would be no purpose of having the DAO, right?
right.
Because the DAO is an autonomous, a decentralized autonomous organization. But if there is no voice or votes that's being casted by the community, then someone will have to direct and lead whatever the sandbox is, right?
Hmm.
So in order, so the higher the votes, the more autonomous the ecosystem is going to be, and the more autonomous it's going to be, the more the community will have paved its own future. So I mean, as a delegate, if I'm able to contribute to that cause, then I believe in a sense I am empowering the sandbox, the sand, empowering the sand fam to be able to make its own decisions.
Yeah. And later on in your delegate description, you said
Yeah,
you wanted the DAO to become a pioneering model for decentralized governance. How did you
yeah.
want that pioneering model to look?
Actually, I've been interested in DAOs for some time now. It's been
Oh,
years, yeah. So even in 2021, in the Sandbox roadmap, I read through the whole white paper of the Sandbox. They had, at one point we're going to be launching the DAO. That's been in the
yeah,
Sandbox white paper from the beginning. And I mean, if you've been around crypto, or especially NFTs, NFT projects, the DAO is always mentioned, right? I have yet to see, I think, well, I have not seen all of them, but from the ones that I've seen, I've yet to see a fully functioning governing body that is, you know, autonomous, because it's kind of a double-edged sword,
sure.
like to be fully autonomous but at the same time to be functional. That's kind of a difficult task to achieve, I think, because um to be effective you need to have consistent strategy, you need to have consistent vision, but to be able to have consistent vision while it's autonomously run, right? That's a very difficult thing to achieve because you have all these different parties and players that are chiming in. So how do you have a consistent vision? And I think that's the reason why the Sandbox Foundation has been kind of leading the Sandbox community up until now, because until the community is able to form a governing body that is autonomous and functional, you do need someone to kind of lead that way. And I think that's what Sebastian's been doing. I think that's what the Sandbox Foundation has been doing. And if we're able to create a DAO that can actually be functional, but at the same time be autonomous. I'm not sure if we can achieve fully autonomous model. I don't even know if that's possible, but at least close to an autonomous uh, model. Then I believe that can be a model for many other platforms in the future. Because it's not. I don't think it's going to be an easy task uh, to have create something that's able to run on its own while ensuring the sustainability and vision of the community, but still be autonomous at the same time.
So, but still be autonomous and functioning.
Yeah, I don't know if that
Yeah,
was a
yeah.
clear
Which
answer,
DAOs
but
have you been observing since I
I've
think you said 2021?
yeah, I've observed BYC's DAO model. I've observed yeah, CyberKong's. Um, I've observed some. There was a project that I was also involved in to start up an NFT project. I was an advisory there, uh, so I've kind of helped out with their um, attempted DAO model, which fell. Um, but
Mm.
yeah, I've been involved here and there, and of course, the sandbox just not necessarily only the DAO, but if you look at the sandbox tokenomics of how the tokens are distributed and allocated from the beginning, that in itself, I believe, has kind of like a decentralized and autonomous aspect to it. Like the tokens going to the creators and coming back in, and then some are delegated to landowners. Kind of just this ecosystem where it's trying to maintain its functionality, but also trying to be autonomous at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so yeah, those are just some of the ecosystems that I've been keeping an eye on.
Yeah, BAYC. I'm also involved in the ApeCoin
Oh
DAO right
wow.
now. I'm currently
Okay.
a,
Oh
a
wow.
co-author for AIP 553 that's about to go up to vote, and
Oh wow.
ironically, it's about a little bit more transparency. And
Yeah.
some they asked me a few weeks ago, one of the other two co-authors asked me to help them because of the SIPs I wrote here in Sandbox DAO
Okay.
to do that because they are I think they're encountering some of those challenges that you were speaking to where it's really difficult to find that balance between
Yeah.
autonomy and functioning, call it
Yeah.
functioning.
Yeah.
So they're encountering their own bit of one faction wants to evolve into the next form of
Mm,
decentralized DAOs.
mm,
Another faction is too skeptical of losing the
mm.
autonomy to get there,
Yeah.
and so they're
Yeah.
in this. They're kind of in this debate and dialogue right now to figure out which way to go. I'm in the middle of it, just like writing the AIP,
Mm, mm, mm.
and it's been so
Wow.
interesting learning how they do things because I have not been
So Lanzer,
involved in the ApeCoin DAO until recently, really.
okay. So are you kind of like a freelance DAO guy, or are
Not
you
really. I consider myself a
okay?
Sandbox DAO guy. I am a
Okay. Okay.
sandbox. Like the sandbox is where I want to be. When I did the
Okay.
episode on the ecosystem where I talked about the people, the products, and the purpose, and I just sat
Yeah.
down trying to figure out how do I describe the ecosystem? Because I've been on I think maybe 3 or 4 interviews, different podcasts,
Okay.
and and
Okay.
and I sound like a walking advertisement for Sandbox sometimes about all the and then and one day someone asked like what does the ecosystem look like? I'm like, you know what? I've never really spelled that out for just myself. So I did episode
Mm,
31
mm.
and now I feel like I can talk about an ecosystem. And then when I sat down to
Okay.
do that, oh my gosh, it's just like layer after layer after layer. Some of the main reasons that
Mm.
you mentioned earlier as to why you chose and narrowed down to the sandbox. I felt the same
Yeah.
way when I was looking at Decentraland and the sandbox,
Mm,
but
yeah.
now I
Yeah.
understand
Decentralized.
the depths to which the sandbox really goes. This is my project. It's
Yeah.
and then the DAO
Decent.
is I've got like a business background. So the DAO to me is like
Oh wow.
gaming, business, community, and leadership. I love it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
So I went on a little bit of tangent there,
Def-
but I just I like
no,
I
that's awesome.
like
That's awesome.
I like learning from the other DAOs as well, like
Mm.
Mocha DAO and Board Ape Yacht
Yeah. Yeah.
Club, or ApeCoin DAO, Squiggle DAO,
Yeah.
WellFam just launched theirs, Well DAO, and so all these different DAOs that I'm looking at, and at the same thing you are like, how do we strike a balance? What does that look like?
Mm, mm. Yeah. I think it's got this DAO model is gonna have a huge impact to especially the next gen, the Gen Alpha,
Hmm.
Gen Z, of how to navigate communities and governing bodies when they're going to be spending so much time online. I mean, they already are, right? And
Yeah.
when value is captured with the time and effort that they're spending online, like how do you govern all of that, right? And so I think the DAO model is definitely going to have a huge impact, not just in the crypto space or Web3 space, but um, overall. So I'm excited to see how that plays out in the sandbox first as a model,
Hmm.
and then hopefully that can be, I guess, like a good example for the
Yeah.
many other projects that are gonna come to the surface in the future.
Yeah, like a template. Because like I just had earlier today, I did a podcast with Bankless DAO, now called Black Flag
Mm,
DAO. They
yeah.
have a situation almost similar to ours, where Bankless DAO is a company. It's a very well known
Mm,
Bankless Media. It's a very well known
mm.
brand, and then Bankless
Yeah,
DAO.
I receive their newsletters.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
So, and Bankless DAO went through, they submitted an Arbitrum proposal, and there was like a
Oh
Twitter
yeah.
mob that came after them. And it was just the
Oh
mob. It wasn't
wow.
really like there was anything wrong that they did,
Yeah.
but a Twitter mob came after them. But because it was associated with the Bankless brand, they went after the owners of the Bankless media.
Oh
And
wow.
that turned into this weird, what happened after that was that the Bankless media distanced itself from the DAO, and now you're stuck with a
Okay.
dilemma. What does the DAO do when the brand has withdrawn from them?
Mm.
And so
Yeah,
what they
yeah,
had to
yeah.
do, they had to get together as a DAO community and decide: do we want to keep the branding of Bankless? Do we want to go our
Mm,
own way?
mm,
What problems will occur in each direction? So I just got off a podcast a couple hours ago interviewing the transition council for to the Black Flag DAO is what they're going to call it now, and all of the different things you have to think of when you're separating yourself from a brand. And the reason why I had them
mm,
on is because I thought back to Sandbox DAO, Sandbox Game Company. Like there's a shared company or a shared brand identity there. A little bit different in that the company has a little bit more of a say for Sandbox Foundation, but still, it's a very a similar arrangement. And so I had them on to kind of tell me their perspective and learn from lessons learned, something that we could look out for. And one of the main things they said was make sure you have communication with your sister brand so that you each know each
mm,
other's roles and limitations, because they did
mm,
not
mm,
have that, and that's why they're going through such turmoil and pain and
mm.
suffering to go their own way. It was a
Yeah,
no-win situation for everyone. The Twitter mob came out of nowhere, and then it put
yeah,
everyone in a bad position. But uh, that was really interesting to me to see how do you face that. I hope Sandbox never does have to, but if we do, we kind of have a model for how do we do it well.
yeah, yeah.
Oy,
And I
it
think the sandbox has positioned itself um quite clearly from the beginning that the DAO is a separate entity from the sandbox,
yeah.
you know, um, the foundation itself. So yeah,
Also, in your Delegate description, you mentioned envisioning what the future would be for the Sandbox communities. How do you see the Sandbox
yeah.
communities evolving, or what did you envision there?
Um, well, right now, um, most of those that are involved in the sandbox, I think, are creators and builders, and of course there's investors, and of course there's gamers as well. But if everything goes right and Web3 is you know adopted by the masses more and more so, and there's more gamers coming into the sandbox, I think the gamers are going to have a bigger voice and bigger role within the ecosystem. I think at this point many of the gamers are not necessarily interested within the community or voicing their concerns. Like I doubt how many gamers would actually know what the DAO is, what the Sandbox DAO is, or what the vision of the sandbox is in the long run. So
Hmm.
as more and more power, or I would say more and more room for the gamers to raise their concern uh, becomes bigger in the future. Um, yeah, I think there's going to be there needs to be people and players uh, that have to educate them, provide them with content, and show them that the sandbox is a gaming platform, but at the same time, it's more than that, right? You can actually contribute in the governing process through the DAO. You can actually have social aspects to it by working with other people and things like that. So I mean, when I say envisioning the future, I'm speaking in terms of the potential of the sandbox, because I don't think we've even scratched the surface
Yeah,
of
I'm with you on
of the
that.
potential. Yeah. So I mean, this is what the sandbox is now is definitely not the end state of the ecosystem. I think we're maybe 1%, right? Um,
Really?
1%.
1%, huh? Okay. I
I
would
would
have
think
I
so.
would
I
have
mean,
bumped it up
because
higher, but I respect that. I think I can understand.
in terms of in terms of the gaming, the gamers coming in, because
Oh, okay. Yeah.
the creators, the sandbox is an amazing platform for the creators. I'm a builder studio. I talk to the creators all the time. They love the process of making games, but for the gamers, many are actually um, feel like it's still not up to par yet in terms of with other
Sure.
gaming platforms, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
So when the gamers actually start pouring in because of the actual gaming aspect to it, and when the accessibility of the Web3 gets better, I think we're still scratching the surface. Um,
Okay.
I see the potential for the sandbox could be, hundreds of millions of gamers, for MAU, monthly active users.
Mm,
And if it's not the alpha season 4, um, to be honest, at this point, the MAU is still quite low. People
yeah.
aren't playing the games just for the sake of the games yet, you know. Um,
Yeah,
so
that
that's why I say when I envision the future, I see huge potential, much more than where it is now.
and and when voters, potential delegators think of you, CryptoMoe, what type of delegate do you want to be known as?
Um, I want to be known as a supportive delegate for sure. I'm someone who kind of sees a big picture. So, if the initiative is good for the community as a whole, right? The steps might not be perfect, um, but if it meets the criteria of in the long run, it's good for the whole, even though in the short run it incentivizes a certain group of the members of the community, then like I'm up for it. I want to be a supportive delegate, not necessarily. I think being critical is important, but sometimes I think people get critical just to be critical for the sake of being critical. So I want to be supportive. I want to foster a vibe where people are encouraged to write sips, right? Where they feel like there is a high chance if my intentions are good, and if my intentions are to improve, the SandFam community as a whole, then like you should have no problem, unless it's something illegal, or it's anything that's kind of shady. Other than that, I don't be a supportive delegate, and also kind of a delegate who acts as a bridge between different cultures. I think like that cultural aspect for me is big for me, because I've come in and out of different cultures um quite a lot. So kind of bridging maybe the Asian side, specifically Korean side, to the maybe more non-Asian, Western or European side. I want to be a delegate that kind of bridges that cultural gap.
Yeah. What sort of SIPs do you not support?
Um, I don't want to support SIPs that are political in nature. When I say political, um, so how you define political might be different from different people, but if a certain SIP only represents one view, of a community, whether that be for religious purposes or for political purposes, right? Then I wouldn't want to support a SIP. Um, not necessarily because that SIP won't be good or it won't be a good idea, but if it's written from the perspective of someone who has a fundamentally different perspective from other people and it only represents that one aspect, then I don't think I would vote for that
Okay.
SIP. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think you're
I
the
don't want to get
first
into specifics.
person,
Yeah.
you're the first one to articulate that specific point of view on that.
Okay. Oh, great. Great.
Yeah.
I've always thought
So,
that, with some experiences, some things that the Sandbox Foundation has pushed for, because I mean, I have personal convictions. I have personal um stances on certain things. So
mhm,
sometimes I'm like, that some things that the Sandbox pushes for might not be representative of all the people that are involved. And that's a challenge. It's a challenge to represent everyone, but at the same time, if it's only representing a certain body of the community members, and if it's a SIP that pushes for that, then I think that's not fair.
got
Um,
it.
yeah,
Got it. Makes sense.
yeah.
And what would you say is the type of SanFam voter that most closely fits your delegation style?
Koreans. Definitely Korean SamFam members know me. They know me. They they all congratulated me when they found out I was the first South Korean delegate. Um, Obviously, the culture and the language
Mhm.
has most to do with it. So, and also maybe those who, mm, I would say maybe more of the Asian community, not necessarily only Koreans, but um, I don't know, maybe
I mean, you
any of the
speak
Filipino,
Tagalog, maybe the Filipinos?
yeah, maybe the Filipino Sandbox community will welcome me with open arms. I don't know.
I think so. I think that'd be fine.
Yeah,
Let's talk to Mark. Know what I mean? Mark
yeah,
from the Sandbox
yeah,
Academy.
yeah. I haven't talked to him, but yeah, I would love to
Yeah,
get
he's
to
looking
know.
to expand the Sandbox Academy into other countries. And so
Oh wow,
the
okay,
Philippines is where he lives, is
yeah,
to him was is the test case. And I think Roxy Miguel from Ecuador expressed an interest
yeah,
in maybe helping expand it into Ecuador, but I'm
okay,
sure that he would love to discuss expanding into other countries as well, so that it's not only representative of only one voice, which that was part of
okay,
the criticism that was levied at the Sandbox Academy, which is why is it only in the
yeah,
Philippines? And he's like,
yeah,
well,
yeah, yeah,
I only live in the Philippines, and that's all I can do, and
yeah,
but
yeah.
I think he's interested in expanding it, and he's been doing it for a while on his own dime, so I'm happy to see him doing it
Wow,
uh,
wow,
with the
that's awesome.
yeah, it is awesome. And let's the last thing was had have you had to sign any additional agreements other than the code of conduct when you interviewed?
No, I think that's the only thing that I signed when joining the code of conduct.
Okay.
Making sure you're not voting for a SIP that's written by someone close to you, or
Yeah.
where I would be getting
I did a
interest.
I did a podcast episode on the new the delegation rules, and oh my
Yeah,
gosh, those conflict of interest rules are very broad. Very, very
yeah. How do
broad.
you how do you like for example, if a member of the Korean Sandbox community writes a SIP, like we pretty much all know each other here in Korea,
Right,
the
right.
Sandbox community, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, so how do you define having a relationship, or it's kind of in the gray area. So I think that's one thing that I think the council needs to clarify.
I sent them I had that question while I was reading the code of conduct. I sent that
Yeah,
question to them, and
yeah,
also they've articulated, like, in the past, uh the first Sandbox DAO podcast that Kunta just
yeah.
posted the other week. They did allude to, this is an iterative process. We know it's not the final state. We're trying to
Okay,
improve it and figure it out. And I was like, all
okay.
right, makes sense. Makes
Yeah, yeah,
sense. Yeah.
yeah. For example, like now I know you, Lanzer, right? Like, so now if you write a SIP, am I not allowed to vote? You know what I'm saying?
Right, right.
It's
That's
like,
interesting. It's an interesting thing.
yeah,
I
yeah,
would I would hate for that to be the thing, because I've
exactly.
almost interviewed all 12 of you. And so
Exactly. So
if
now
that was a
you
conflict of
you
interest,
can't get
then my Sandbox Scholarship has no chance.
yeah. So
None.
I'm sure that wasn't the intent. I'm sure that wasn't the intent. So I'm sure they'll clarify what they mean. Yeah.
Yeah. And how were you notified that you were a delegate?
Through the Sandbox DAO email inter platform interface.
Oh, like
Yeah.
the direct messages?
Yeah, yeah, the DMs. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
And that's linked to my personal email. So
Got it. Yeah.
yeah. I think Fawn
Yep.
was the one
Fawn.
who interviewed me. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, she's awesome. I love Fawn. And so we just went through all of the questions, and as we were going through it, I had a thought that, would it be valuable to you for me to repeat some of the questions and then you answer in Korean? Totally up to you.
Um, oh, on the show right now.
Mhm.
I think I think it's okay because I'm either gonna take this after you upload it to your YouTube channel. I'm probably gonna ask you, but if it would be okay to maybe add subtitles
You
or
may absolutely
um
do so. Yeah.
yeah, do something to localize the content.
Yeah.
So I'm
You
probably gonna
go
follow
right
up with
ahead.
that.
All right,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Then absolutely. Absolutely. We have I didn't see any community questions that I haven't already answered. So we have went through all the questions. Thank you for giving me a little
Awesome.
bit of insight into the voice of the Korean community. I was wondering about that. And
Yeah.
it's I think, like, the Westerners, I'll just say, I don't speak for all the Westerners, but the sense
Yeah.
I get is that we want to communicate, but short
Mm,
of using Google Translator, we don't know how.
yeah. 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 Yeah.
And so what I was kind of tossing around back and forth with some of like Sebga, who and the Hidden Walls, I think they recommended that we do like a panel. And
Mm,
then I was talking with Old One that maybe I can just do a panel with Chinese speaking community
mm,
and then a
mm.
Korean
Okay.
speaking community. And I don't even have
Yeah.
to say much. I mean, I won't
Yeah.
understand most of it, but that's okay because it won't be about me. Maybe I can just stream it while you moderate, and then we can make that content available. Like, however, um, but it occurred to me that I'd really like to try and bridge as well, do my
Yeah.
part, because we're one Sand Fam, and I feel like I want to connect with
Mm.
Korean speakers and Chinese speakers and Filipinos and South Americans and everyone in Europe. Like, there, but I don't know how. And I've been thinking
Yeah.
about that a
Yeah.
lot
Yeah.
lately.
Yeah. That would be great to have like the other day. I think when was it? Wednesday? Yeah, Wednesday. 2 days ago, we had a Alpha Season 4 AMA with Sebastian, and I interpreted the AMA. So it could be something similar to that. Maybe you could have questions, and then I could interpret um, and have my own questions as well. So yeah, definitely. I
I
think that
think that'd
would
be
be
cool
something that
if
that
we
would be
exchanged
beneficial. Yeah.
questions.
Yeah.
That would be neat. Like you ask the community, what do y'all want to ask us? And then I ask
Yeah,
the Western community, what do you want to ask them?
yeah, and then we can consolidate the questions and then um, do a stream or something. Yeah, that sounds
That would be
cool.
cool. I think we're on to something now.
Yeah,
CryptoMo, thank you for
I
your
think.
time. Thank you
Yep. Thank you so
for
much.
the opportunity. And I've been thinking about it for the past 5 minutes. 감사합니다.
감사합니다. Very good.
감사합니다.
That was
감사합니다.
good. 감사합니다.
And I've done doing this for the past number of delegates. You so there's some spaces that I wanted to make you aware of. You already know Discord, you know the Sandbox DAO forums, you know Twitter,
Yep.
and there's YouTube, which is the Sandbox DAO YouTube,
Yep.
mine, and then SandFam Cafe. But there are Twitter spaces where SandFam gathers during the week that
Okay.
that may or may not benefit from you introduce yourself as a delegate. So there's Mochaverse Hall on Mondays,
Okay.
and they are not just Mocha, but they're also pretty heavy into the Sandbox DAO and some ApeCoin.
Okay.
There's Bulls on the Block on Saturdays. They are big time ApeCoin DAO, but they're also they hold an estate on the Sandbox, so they're a Sandbox group. And then
Hmm.
there's Monday through Friday Coffee with Captain, which is primarily the ApeCoin DAO, but they do talk about the Sandbox from time to time. And
Mm.
like you mentioned, kind of the authority thing. I think the prestige of the delegates rushing them, they would open up a bit more to that as well. And they are very well syndicated. There are hundreds of
Mm-mm.
people who watch that show.
Oh
And
wow. Okay.
then there's Well Members, who I think is one of the largest landowners in the Sandbox. They just launched their Well DAO, and I have a WIP for them to vote on every SIP, whereas before they haven't been. And I think
Mm.
it would really do well for a delegate to make an appearance. They're not all like whale people. Some of them are also seeking a delegate, such as yourself. Just something
Yeah.
to keep in mind. If you ever had the time to, they they do gather. I've seen in those four places so far, in some numbers. But just wanted to share. We're at the
Sure.
end. Was there anything you'd like to share, or any other parting words?
Um, I think this is good. I mean, text is good and writing on the forum is good, but I think just connecting on a just like a personal video, um, more interactive level, I think really it strengthens the connection for sure. So thank you for inviting me. Yeah, definitely, I would be interested in the future if there's other spaces where I can go and contribute to conversations and even talk to other DAO delegates maybe in your platform and get to know them and discuss about various topics for the well-being of the Sandbox DAO. So yeah, this is my
Yeah.
first time um, having a discussion about the Sandbox DAO in any platform. So
Aw,
this has been great, and I'm look yeah I would
I feel honored.
no, it's been really good because I think a lot of people just they have a lot of good ideas and thoughts. It's just not enough space to come together and have these
Right.
dialogues. So
It
this
can
has
be
been very
difficult.
good.
Yeah. 감사합니다. 감사합니다.
감사합니다. Thank
감사합니다.
you. Thank you so
All
much,
right,
Lancer.
everyone. SandFam, thank you for your time. And this is CryptoMoe, otherwise known as Moefat on the delegation. He is very interested. If you're Korean speaking or Filipino speaking, or Tagalog, then please consider CryptoMoe as your delegate, as
Mm,
looking to empower the community to shape its own future and to become a pioneering model for decentralized governance. Thank you all. Have a great night.
awesome. Thank you.